Hello and welcome to Melomaniax, the podcast where we take unbiased deep dives into the biggest musicians and bands of all time. I'm Ashton.
And I'm Dallas. Before we get started today, do you want more weird music history, bonus episodes, and a backstage pass to this show? If so, hit up our Patreon that's found at patreon.com/Melomaniax with an X. For $5 a month, you're going to get bonus episodes, early drops, access to our Discord community, and a whole lot more. Help us keep these deep dives coming your way. Join the crew today, and let's get into today's episode. So we're doing something kind of different today. We had the idea to pick 10 songs that were famously cover songs, or maybe not so famously. Maybe you didn't know this song was a cover. And we're going to kind of compare and contrast those to the original and discuss and pick which one's our favorite and things like that. So we're going to start off with Free Fallin'. I think we should say who made it famous first and then who covered it. So, as made famous by Tom Petty. And John Mayer actually did a cover of it. This was for his 2007 live album. You can't find it on a recorded album. Although I guess that album was recorded. And I think it's track like 5 or so. So that album, which I could talk about in its own episode, he does 3 different sets. He does acoustic and then the blues and then the full band at the end. So this is the last song on his blues set. So it's either track 5 or 6. And it's a really beautiful cover. He has 2 guys come out. One guy's playing slide. And then his longtime other guitarist, David Ryan Harris, is doing some guitar and backing vocals and stuff like that. It's really, really lovely version. I'm coming down pretty solidly on the John Mayer side. And Ashton may come down on the same side as me, or he may come down on a different side. But that's where I'm at. We'll talk about it a little more as soon as I let Ashton talk here.
Yeah, but it's difficult because I actually heard the John Mayer version first in my life.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I'm a huge Tom Petty fan. Love his music. I do think the John Mayer version does take the edge, but also, I don't know. I just like this. He changes the song a little bit, you know, like enough that it's different.
Oh, he changed it a lot.
Yeah,
I think,
so
yeah.
it's different, so it's really good, and like I really like the arrangement that he put together for that song. Great song in general, though, and also that album, that live album, I love that album. I wish, like you said, like I know they recorded it, but like I've never been able to like have it. There's another song from that John Mayer like live performance that you let me listen to that I heard it and I was like, I can never find it. I always forget.
No, it's just the live one. That's it.
Yeah, it's
something I didn't know about the original Free Fallin'. I did know this. It's the opening track from his debut solo album. It also went on to be his biggest song, so that's a pretty good start. But I didn't know he wrote it with his writing partner at the time for that album, which was Jeff Lynne from ELO. And this song, actually, Free Fallin', actually features Lynn on backing vocals and bass guitar.
Oh, nice.
So they also wrote and recorded the single in just 2 days. So it was the first song completed for his first album. So he's off to a strong start. And I suppose upon reading this a little further, they're referring to Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Had a bunch of stuff before this, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, or definitely not, I guess. And then this is him, I guess, just dropping the Heartbreakers. Sucks for them.
Yeah, we'll have to do a episode.
Hey, you're all fired.
Yeah, we'll have to do an episode on that just due to the Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers and then why it just became Tom Petty. Who knows? I have no idea what happened there. I wonder if it's like a bad thing or if it was like a mutual thing or if maybe they just dropped the Heartbreakers and well, I guess that's not the case because the personnel for this song is not anybody on the Heartbreakers, like you said. It's just a couple of guys. So
I think so. Yeah, I don't really remember much about that. So we'll dive into a Tom Petty episode one day. Free Fallin' is as I mentioned, one of his most famous tracks, but it is his longest and highest charting song. It peaked at number 7 on the U.S. Billboard 100 in January 1990. So that became his third and final top 10 hit. It also charted in a few other countries. He's performed the song at the MTV Music Awards in 1989. Here's a fun thing, with Axl Rose and Izzy Stradlin. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's sweet.
And he performed it at the 2008 Super Bowl halftime show. It's also ranked number 219 on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Songs of All Time. So if you go back and listen to our episodes on that, when you get to number 219, you'll hear Free Fallin'. It also reached number 2 on the Spotify Global Viral 50, which I assume is the most difficult chart to land on, following his death in 2017. So A lot of really cool stuff there.
I think a lot of people know that one's a cover, right? I always hear it's weird
I
because
think
the
that one's pretty obvious because Free Fallin' is a huge song.
yeah, I always hear the John Mayer version at grocery stores. Actually,
Interesting. So here's a little bit about the John Mayer version. It was 2007, like I mentioned. He played an acoustic cover of the song in a performance for the 2008. I guess the album came out in 2008. Live album Where the Light Is. That was performed at the Nokia Theater in Los Angeles. Now his single was certified double platinum in Australia in 2021. Wow. And gold in the UK in 2022. That's crazy. I wonder if they must have released that single later or something.
yeah,
Because that song was like a hidden gem. Like I remember when that album came out, everyone liked the album, and everyone would talk about this cover of Free Fallin'. And the best part that I loved about it was when he starts playing it, you have no idea what song it is
yeah.
until he sings the first word, and you're like, "Oh my god, no, that's crazy!" I love covers like that.
Yeah, that is true. Like when he first comes in with his like, eh, he's still playing like similar notes though, right? And he's just
Kind of, he's doing
like
the same chords and
like
stuff, but
I
he's
was gonna
doing
say
it
it's like
in
the same
such a
chords,
different
but
way.
it's so different. Yeah, I was gonna say because I just kind of like because in the original he kind of he just hits the chords and lets them ring.
He just dun
Yeah,
dun, and John Mayer's
yeah,
doing
and
a
John
bunch
Mayer
of
like he
fancy
kind of
finger picking. Yeah.
exactly. I was gonna say he kind of like does the John Mayer thing. I saw a video of John Mayer yesterday, just on a short, just like it's like I'm gonna try and play something so that people can feel it or whatever, and just shreds on guitar. And every comment as guitar player is just like, man, fuck this guy. He's just so good for no reason. Well, he's put in the hours and stuff, but he is like crazy good, and he makes it look super easy. Just the like stuff that he does on guitar is basically they were just like, man, I'll never get to that point, and he just makes it look like it's just like a regular Tuesday morning for him. He's like, yeah, I'm just warming up. Better than you'll ever be.
Yeah, he especially excels on the finger picking side of things. And another thing he's really good at is singing and playing at the same time. He'll play and sing each difficult parts, but then he does them together at the same time.
Yeah,
that's the hardest part, I think. Most people I think would assume that is not as hard as it is, but that's much harder than like I would love to see just the average person like try to even get close. Your brain will melt. Like it's crazy. Playing and singing at the same time is super difficult, especially at first.
I try and play drums and sing, and it messes me up. Like just like you know what I mean. Like so I can only like the stuff he plays, like you're saying, and the singing. It's impressive. But
the good news is that's a very trainable skill. You can't just practice. You will get better.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So we're both we're on John Mayer for this one.
I think we're both coming down on John Mayer in a good way. Let's move on to number
Another
2.
common one.
Yeah, this one I think most people realize as well, and that is Knocking on Heaven's Door, as made famous by, this time the cover, Guns N' Roses, and as originally written by Bob Dylan.
Yep.
So, do we want to discuss it first and then say which side we're coming down on, or are we?
Yeah, we'll discuss
it
first. Yeah, we'll discuss it first.
Okay, so Bob Dylan wrote this song for the soundtrack of a 1973 film called Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. And it was released as a single 2 months after the film's premiere. And it did actually become a worldwide hit. It was just, years and years and years before Guns did their version and years before we were born. So we never got to experience the 1973 to 1991 period of this song, right before the cover. It reached top 10 in several countries. Became one of his most popular and one of his most covered post-1960s compositions, spawning covers from Eric Clapton, Randy Crawford, Guns N' Roses, and more.
I don't think
it was
I've
ranked
heard...
number 190 by their 500 greatest songs of all time, Rolling Stone. But that was in 2004. They may have updated it since then. Oh, yeah, they did. 192, so it dropped 2 spots in 2010 and then was excluded from the revised list in 2021. So it dropped like 300 spots then.
Goodness. Yeah, it's not even in that one. Let's see. I got to look at the charts. I don't know. It's so hard to compare like the charts around Bob Dylan's time and the charts around Guns N' Roses, but it looks like, okay, so it hit 12 on the Billboard 100. Okay, that's really good.
Pretty good.
Like you see it, like you said. Yep. And then
so moving on to the Guns part as soon as we finish the sales thing. I have that ready to roll as well.
Yeah, that's it for sales. It did the best in the UK. And then it had some
Interesting.
like decent sales in Spain, Italy, Denmark. I don't see the US popping up here though for notable sales on that song for the Bob Dylan version.
So in 1987, which the year is the year Appetite for Destruction came out, Guns N' Roses' first album, they started performing this song. Of course, it wouldn't come out
Okay.
until Use Your Illusion, which it was on Use Your Illusion 2. That was in 1991. So they'd been playing it for a while before that. A live version of the song, however, was released on the 12-inch single of Welcome to the Jungle that same year. That's interesting.
Oh,
That would be an interesting listen. So they
right.
recorded and released a studio version in 1990 for the soundtrack of the film Days of Thunder. That reached number 18. Wow. Although in 1990 they were probably one of the biggest bands in the world. They could have put out pretty much anything, and it would have done good. The studio recording was then slightly modified for the band's 91 album Use Your Illusion, discarding the responses in the second verse. Interesting. I'd like to hear that original one. And that was released as the second single of the album, and that version hit number 2 on the UK and New Zealand singles charts. And then other charts it fully topped. It was the best-selling song of 1992. In Ireland, the song reached number 1. It became GNR's third and last number 1 single.
Uh-huh.
They performed some famous covers of it at the Freddie Mercury tribute concert in 92. Live Era. I mean, there's a whole bunch of versions of it. That's pretty much it. I mean, for me, it's pretty obvious. It's not even a question. I'm coming down Guns N' Roses on this one. Honestly, it has nothing to do with the song. It's Slash's guitar work is absolutely stunning in this song. I think it's some of his best stuff. And they do a bunch of when they do it live, they do a bunch of cool stuff that they add to it that I like. None of that has anything to do with Bob Dylan writing the song, to be honest. He did the lyrics and, the composition with the chords and things like that, which when I listen to the Guns N' Roses version are not my favorite parts, not the things I'm listening for. I think it's good, but
Yeah.
it's the guitar work, the intro, like all the guitar work in that song is just, not just the solos, is just top tier and really shaped me as a guitar player.
Yeah, my absolute favorite part of that song is towards the end before they're wrapping it up with the big chorus, and they have the like choir singing. So Axl sings "Knock Knock Knocking on Heaven's Door," and then the choir sings it, and then there's that really tasteful piano licks and stuff in there. Like,
Yeah,
dude,
that's all Dizzy Reed. Yep.
Yeah, that whole little part is like my absolute favorite part of that song. And it's for the reasons that you said, like a lot of my favorite parts of the Guns N' Roses song are just because they were not in the original. Like I like what they
choices,
added.
yeah.
Exactly. The arrangement, it was so phenomenal. Also, I mean, I'm not a big Bob Dylan fan, but he writes a lot of good songs. You can't deny he writes a lot of good songs. It's just in my opinion, he doesn't perform his own songs as well as other people do. So
I think most people would agree with you on that.
But yeah, I'm coming down on Guns N' Roses' side for sure. This is actually one of my favorite Guns N' Roses songs. I know it's a cover, but I just think they did it so phenomenally. Like this is a good one. Moving along to number 3. Here's one that I don't think a ton of people are going to know as a cover because I didn't till you told me. And that is Tennessee Whiskey. Would that be made famous by Chris Stapleton, but originally written by David Allan Coe?
I don't think it was.
It was.
I don't.
Or not.
I think it was written for David Allan Coe.
George Jones is who I listened to, right?
So the song was written by Dean Dillon and Linda Hargrove, so they wrote it. Now, when you get into the country world, oftentimes it's very common to see writers write songs and then sell them to artists or give them to artists. So when you say, by David Allan Coe, it's not written by David Allan Coe.
Gotcha.
So that's but it was originally recorded by country artist David Allan Coe for his album of the same name, and that peaked at number 77.
I see.
In 1981. Now, in 1983, George Jones did a version of the song that was included in his version or his album Shine On. That reached number 2 on the Hot Country Singles chart. So I would not be surprised if that's the version.
That's the version
more
I
people
heard.
Are familiar with. But now the song has been covered by several artists, including Chris Stapleton. So that's whose breakout. Here, I'll just read it. The breakout performance of the song at the CMA Awards with Justin Timberlake is what propelled that song to a greater level of popularity. So since that, it's gone 17 times platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America. That's the RIAA. And it's interesting if you go back and listen to the original versions of this song, whether either one, they're both kind of, they were 2 years apart. So, and those were in the 80s, and then Tennessee Whiskey was in like 2011 or something. So big gap there.
Man, I wish I would have listened to the David Allan Coe version then, because I listened to the George Jones version, and I really like that version actually, like a lot. It's got a very, sounds like it reminds me of Conway Twitty a lot, but it's like that really old country sound. It's got like the slide guitar and stuff. It's phenomenal.
They recorded more of a
both versions are great. Like Chris obviously adds that vocal performance that you're not hearing, but like if you like an old school sounding country song, that George Jones version is immaculate for that. Also, like you told me, Chris changes it to 3/4.
6/8, yeah.
Or 6/8, that's right. And
so
the
I think the
original is
originally
4/4. Yeah, the original is just in a regular 4/4, and then he changes up the. This is where we talk about, like, I think a lot of my favorite covers are when you change the arrangement. There's some covers that are just a copy and paste. They do the exact same song just as, their band or whatever. But I like when you got to change something about it. That's more so like the cover I'm looking for, personally. Otherwise, it just kind of feels like, I mean, I guess a band is allowed to be in love with a song and playing a song. A lot of bands start out playing covers, so it makes sense to like have one that you like, but I'm still always going to lean towards the ones that change the arrangement versus not. This one's difficult for me though.
Changing the meter though is wild.
That's a whole different thing. That's a song restructure.
That's a difficult change too, because all of a sudden all your words don't fit the same way and over what you're singing. The rhythm's totally different. So, and in Chris Stapleton's case, he didn't only change it; he made it way better, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to the original, but I assume it sounds very similar to the George Jones version.
I
since
think
they came out about
close,
2 years apart. So I'm just gonna assume that it sounds the same with a different singer, basically. This one's gonna be hard. I know you're definitely locking in Chris Stapleton, and I also love Chris Stapleton's version, but I will equally visit that George Jones version.
His I didn't realize
same amount.
Chris Stapleton's first album was 2015, not 2011.
Oh, a little more recent than we thought. But
it says he first sang his version on a spur of the moment while the band was playing during a sound check, and they kind of enjoyed playing it, so they just kept doing it. And then he decided to sing the song every show. The producer heard it, suggested they should record it. His cover was never really officially released to radio as a single, but it was released as a promotional CD single. Interesting. But what blew it up was that performance with Justin Timberlake at the CMAs, which is a really good performance.
If he never recorded it and officially released it, or I guess
no, he never released it to radio.
Never released it to radio. Okay, I was going to say, did he at least get the rights to do it, or did he go through some
I'm
legal
sure all
stuff
that's been worked out. Yeah.
Okay. You never know.
It does have to suck if your biggest song, which Chris Stapleton's obviously got a lot of big songs, so it's not him, but there are artists where their biggest song and really their only song was a cover. That sucks.
Quiet Riot.
A lot of that money, I mean, you're cut off at the knees basically money-wise. You're not going to be able to make much of a career unless it gets just insanely big. But even then, no matter how big it gets, at least half of it's going to the original artist because they wrote it. You only own the master side. You don't own the publishing side.
Yeah, so that 17 million sales in the US from that song, like, it's awesome, but a lot of that, like you said, is going to be split between the label and the original artist before Chris sees any of that for that song.
In 2024, Rolling Stone ranked Stapleton's rendition of the song number 90 on its 200 greatest country songs of all time. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. That's phenomenal. All right, I'll go ahead and I'll land with Chris's version.
Okay.
Even though I really like the George Jones version.
Nice. All right.
You
want to announce the next one?
Yeah, number 4 is interesting because I think a lot of people have this one swapped on who wrote the original and who covered it. So the song is "Hurt," originally written by Nine Inch Nails and covered by Johnny Cash, actually. And I think just because Johnny Cash is so old and done so much music, I think it's just a quick association. Like you look at it, you see the names, you're like, oh, Johnny wrote that song for sure. You know what I mean? Like it's just so,
Yeah.
pretty quick to like common, just common knowledge, like put that together. But it's actually the other way around. Nine Inch Nails wrote their version and Johnny covered it very late in his life, right before he passed away. One of the last songs he did, I think it was what, 2000, let me look. When did his version come out? 2002? Okay.
Yeah. So the song was written by Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails, and it was for their 1994 album, which was The Downward Spiral. It was the closing song on that album. It was released as a single, went straight to radio. It received a Grammy. In 2020, both Kerrang and Billboard ranked the song in their list of top greatest Nine Inch Nails songs, whatever, and it came in at number 2 and number 3, respectively. Now, in 2002, like you said, Johnny Cash covered it to great commercial and critical acclaim. Everybody liked that one. I did too. The related music video is considered one of the greatest of all time by publications such as NME. I have not seen the video. Even Reznor praised Cash's interpretation of the song for its sincerity and meaning, going so far as to say, quote, "That song isn't mine anymore."
Oh.
Song references heroin and self-harm and suicide and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's a downer of a song, but I mean, that's what makes it so powerful. And the music video, gosh, it's been forever since I've seen it. I know it's just Johnny sitting around, old, looking very solemn. I don't know. It just you can feel the emotion. I don't know any other way to you watch it, and it just like really hits home with the lyrics and like just the production. It's great from what I remember. I think when I first watched it, I think I watched it like 5 times in a row or something like that. One of those kind of like, oh, this is really good. But I also do like the original. I think the Nine Inch Nails version is good, but Johnny's version is just next level with it's just an acoustic cover, right? But then again, I think the original,
cool parts in it, yeah.
I don't think the original has drums in it either, though. I think it has some electric guitar, but I'm trying to think. It's not a super overproduced song, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of there's not a lot of moving parts in it. So his rendition is just an even more simplified version of a already simplified sounding song, but it's good. I like the Johnny version. It definitely makes sense that one blew up.
So what's your pick here?
Dude, I'm actually gonna go with Nine Inch Nails. Even though Johnny's version is really good, yeah. I like the Nine Inch Nails version. I think the original just has an edge to it, if that makes sense.
Well, if they're both kind of on the same field, in my mind, you get a little extra credit for actually creating it and like writing it. Okay, so that's going to edge it out in my mind if they're on the same level playing field. Now, sometimes like Guns N' Roses and Bob Dylan, like to me, that's not even in the same universe. Like it's pretty clear. But these two are so close. I love both of them, but I will give it to Nine Inch Nails for being the creator.
I did not see us both landing on Nine Inch Nails. That's awesome.
Yeah, I like that song. I didn't realize that Johnny Cash version came out that long ago, 2002.
I know. I felt like it was like 2008 was going to be my guess. Yeah,
I forget when he died, but
I was going to guess like around like the later, like almost 2010-ish.
Oh, he died in 2003. Okay, yeah.
So okay, so I told you, yeah. I was pretty sure it was like one of the last songs he did, but I thought all of that, like you said, was like 10 years later than when it actually happened. Yeah. All right, moving along.
Let's move on.
Number 5. Here's one that I didn't know was a cover myself.
Me either.
So the song Respect, as made famous by Aretha Franklin, but originally written by Otis Redding, written and performed. And so this one is, so as far as the arrangement, the first part of Aretha's song version is just a pretty similar cover. And then at the end, she starts adding in the RESPECT, find out what it means to me. That is not in the original version. That little
That's
part.
interesting because that's the most famous part of that song. So that she's probably credited as a writer for that then.
Yeah, so
she probably got credited as a writer for creating, because I believe if you add something significant to it that's different, I believe you do have grounds to claim like creation. So this is a really interesting one.
Yeah, I also love this one because you're getting a male and a female perspective of the same issue. The guy is singing about coming home and can he get a little respect from his wife or his significant other after, and then you get a completely different kind of like view from a female perspective of, can I get a little respect? Like, you know what I mean? Like the meaning is so different because of the male and female singers of the song. And then like we said, it became like a song became like a feminine anthem for a while after Aretha's version. And like I said, she added in that extra little part. So I don't know how that, how that exactly like changes it. Like you said, how much credit she gets. But yeah, the first part of the song is like just an exact cover. They go into the chorus and it's, can I get a little respect? And then that's it. And
when we did our 500 greatest songs of all time, I believe this song came number 1.
It did, yeah, and it was
so that's pretty
Aretha.
Damn good. So I think that was rightly deserved. I mean, it's an amazing song and classic and all that. I'm going to go on the Aretha side of things, and this is also her signature song. Quote:
"It is her signature song." Yep. So so she added the 4 lines. RESPECT, find out what it means to me. RESPECT, take care of TCB. That's her added in part.
What's the TCB mean? I never understood that.
Take care of business. Taking care of business.
Oh. So take care of business.
Or it says TCB is an abbreviation commonly used in the 60s and 70s, meaning take care of business, African American slang for pleasing one's partner.
Oh, okay. So take care of me, basically.
Yeah. So that's what that is. It's hard. I think the original is good, but yeah, I got to go with Aretha as well. That song is like the Aretha Franklin song. So, oh man.
Here's a fun little side fact. TCB in a flash later became Elvis Presley's motto and signature.
Oh, that's funny.
And while those that chorus she added are not in Redding's version, like you said, he did actually incorporate those ideas in some of his later performances.
Oh, that's awesome.
So he went back and covered her version of her covering his song.
That's kind of cool. Damn, I really like what she did with my song.
Damn,
I should have done that. Yeah, I should have done that.
All right, we're moving on here. I lost count. And by the way, these are in no particular order. I think this is number 6.
Yep. Yeah, we actually even have more, and I think we'll revisit this topic someday.
Yeah, we have a lot more.
We
chose
more.
We chose 10 to start. So
yeah.
Okay, so we have Hard to Handle, as made famous by the Black Crowes. It's off their first album. I think it's also one of their biggest songs, if not their biggest song. I think it is their biggest song. It reached number 26 on the Billboard Hot 100. And did well for them and shot him up and all that good stuff. But it was originally written by, again, Otis Redding.
Man, he's killing
Back-to-back Otis Reddings, yep.
Right.
And that was originally released in 1968 as the B-side to Amen, shortly after the singer's sudden death in 1967, so it was released posthumously. It also appears on his album after that called The Immortal Otis Redding. His version reached number 38 and number 51 on the pop charts, so, not a failure by any means. But the Black Crowes covered it in 1990 for their debut album, Shake Your Moneymaker, which is probably my second favorite album of all time. And that reached number 26, like I said. Grateful Dead also did it, but the Black Crowes are...
I had no idea they did it. I don't even want to listen to that version.
Yeah. Here's something I didn't know. 2 versions of this song exist by the Black Crowes. The original album version, which is the one we know, and then there's a hit single remixed with an overdubbed brass section. and that's available in the 30th anniversary edition of Shake Your Moneymaker. So I need to go back and listen to that.
So that would be a call out to the original. And I was gonna say the thing I like the most about the original is the horns and stuff. Like, well, I know that. So like the horns in the original make it the groove so much better, but
it's also much slower. The original's much slower than the Black Crowes.
It is. Yeah, for sure. But man, if there's a Black Crowes version where they add some of those horns, that would. We're gonna have to go listen to that together, I think, immediately as soon as we get off of here. But yeah, I really like the horns they have in the original, but the Black Crowes just killed this song, dude. Like production, everything it's a masterpiece.
Interesting fact about this one, the guitar solo was played by Brendan O'Brien, who is not a member of the Black Crowes. He's the producer. And it was played on a Gibson Les Paul owned by Rick Rubin.
Oh, that's weird.
That's pretty crazy.
I wonder why the guitar
so this song became their highest charting. So what's funny is it peaked at number 45 on the Billboard Hot 100, and it kind of stuck there, cooled off, whatever. And then She Talks to Angels, their second hit, came out. That was their first top 40 hit, and upon the success of that, Hard to Handle re-entered and went all the way up to number 26. So it peaked at 26, but that peak was not right when it came out. It was actually after their second one, so they had kind of two fighting at the same time. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool that it their other single revitalized the first single. That means you're writing good songs though, right? People are like, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that song. Like, didn't they? Or I bet it was this song's good. Didn't they just have a song recently? That came out, and then you go back and you're like, oh, okay, this one's good too. I like this band.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Hard to Handle was probably the first song that I discovered that was a cover, and I was like, what? How is that a cover? They just took it and made it their own while still respecting the original. They're not as different as you might think.
Yeah, they do have things. Yeah, a lot of similarities, but enough differences, I think.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to go Black Crowes. They're one of my favorite bands, probably my second favorite band. So I'm going to go Black Crowes. What about you?
Man,
you're going to go Black Crowes plus horns.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm doing the version that I haven't heard. that is my
confident that'll be your favorite.
I am very confident that's going to be my new favorite. So I'll go with Black Crowes too. I hate matching you and I on everything, but
we were talking before that we hit record about overplayed songs by bar bands, and Hard to Handle is definitely one of those. So that's probably, for that reason, ends up being a song I kind of skip over most of the time when I listen to that album. There's also songs that I personally have played so many times that it's like I don't need to really hear them anymore,
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those as well. So for that reason, I probably did not even listen to Hard to Handle on the 30th anniversary edition. I did go back and listen to it. I remember when it came out. I was super excited. Again, that's one of my favorite. It's probably my second favorite album of all time. Just top to bottom, love it. But I guess I didn't notice or didn't pay attention to they added a brass section to it. So I'll have to go back and key into that and see how it goes. We're going to move on now to number 7. 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 7.
7.
And this one blew my mind. I had no idea that this was a cover, and that is Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And that, of course, was made famous in 1983 and 84-ish by American singer-songwriter Cyndi Lauper. However, it was written by Robert Hazard in 1979. Kind of changes the vibe of that song when you find out it was written by a man.
Right?
But
that's what I was thinking.
Similar to Aretha, Cyndi did change some of those lyrics. So we're going to dive into a little bit of that. This also was her debut single from her first solo album. So again, another person just coming out strong.
Her biggest album is her debut album, if I remember correctly.
Because of this song, right? I mean, this song's absolutely massive.
This song, I also want to say that Time After Time is on this album as well.
I forget that's her. Yeah, that's so
yeah.
Good.
So I think that both of her biggest hits are on her debut album. But
yeah, it looks like it is. Yeah.
But yeah, once it, like you said, the song Respect, two different, with the male and the female perspective. This song, again, very different perspectives from a male and female singer, as well as. Does it have it listed out the lyrics she added? I want to say there's stuff in the verses, right?
I'm not sure. I'm going to see if I can find that out.
Because I think the verses are different when I listen to the original. I want to say
this song hit number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, though. Became a worldwide hit through late '83 and early '84. It's one of her signature songs. Big 80 songs.
Yeah, I would say this is her signature song.
But let's go back to 1979. It was written by rock musician Robert Hazard, who performed it with various bands in the Philadelphia area and enjoyed some college radio airplay. Nothing crazy. It was a demo recording he made. He wrote it as a rock song from the male perspective. However, Hazard's friend, producer, Rick Chertoff, brought it to Cyndi Lauper and re-recorded it as a pop electronic song, and Lauper flipped it and made it carry a feminist attitude by subtly changing some of the lyrics. And she had her own suggestions as well as the producer's suggestions. And they brought in some musicians. That's kind of it. It was done.
Made it happen.
So I think changing those lyrics, I think you'd have a case in court about having some ownership over that song, especially considering it drastically altered the meaning to be what it means, which is what everyone now knows. It's like a massive part of society.
Yeah, this one's going to be hard to pick the original just because, I mean, also the record, like, he's not that great of a singer, honestly, and like his version is like okay, not recorded very well, anything like that. And then there's a ton of production in the Cyndi version, and with you saying like the things she changed, I think making this one of her key songs, I think it's hard to not pick Cyndi Lauper for this one.
Ooh, the drama heats up. The song's success obviously vastly overshadowed Hazard's own music career.
Yep.
So his next album, 1984, was a disappointment. At the same time, Girls Just Want to Have Fun was going gold, making him a millionaire. So he's literally becoming a millionaire while his album's failing. And after Lauper claimed in interviews to have co-written the song, which I think that's a proper claim. You co-wrote the song, even though you weren't in the same room writing it together. You still took a song and added your own stuff to it as a hit. I think that's a co-write. That makes sense to me. Hazard served her with a cease and desist letter, and he was able to buy a New Jersey lake house and a horse farm from the song's royalties, although he did say that federal taxes took most of the money. Isn't that fun?
Yep. Man.
That's crazy.
He still got paid out, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's tricky. I think she has more than a case to... Although maybe he was just asking her to stop saying you co-wrote it, which that'd be an easy thing to stop saying,
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. I won't say that again.
Yeah, right. Super easy.
Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting.
I disagree. I think she has a pretty, well, not firm, but there's definitely a gray area there. Like she could win that, I think. She may have. I don't know much about that. But anyway, go Cyndi. Great song. Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Yep.
We're going to move on to number 8 now.
Man, I'm hoping we disagree somewhere.
Have we disagreed so far?
I don't think so.
Yeah, we did on one of them, I think.
Did we?
One of them. I can't remember which one.
Okay.
I also might be wrong. Let me go look at the list.
Yeah, I think we've agreed on all of them. I think the only one I could disagree with is maybe the Hard to Handle because I like the horns so much, but that's where we joked about the Black Crowes. If they include horns in their version, then there's no reason for me to like the original more. But
good point. Yeah, I think we did agree on all of them actually.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Number 8. Here's another one I had no idea was a cover till you.
Oh, you didn't know this one? This one's
you blew my.
And so it's hard to say what, like, you only know what you know, right? So I knew this was a cover for a long time. Yeah. Like when it came out, I think my parents told me, but because let's say the song is "Life Is a Highway."
Yeah.
And it was made famous for the movie Cars, which we all loved as kids. So, but I remember my family being like, "Oh, that's not their song," blah blah. But again, so I kind of grew up knowing that. But it does surprise me that a lot of people don't know that, and a lot of people don't know a lot of these songs.
Country music never came through my house. Period.
Interesting. Yeah. So my family loved Rascal Flatts.
Neither of my parents like it. So of course I never got exposed. And the original, real quick, it's "Life Is a Highway," made famous by Rascal Flatts, originally by Tom Cochrane. Is that how you say it? Cochran? Okay. Cochrane sounds so much cooler.
Cochrane does sound way cooler.
Yeah. That was a mistake on his part. He could have been a bigger artist had he...
He could have been a bigger... I think he did okay, though.
He did good. And that's when I went back and looked at it, that song actually did pretty well when it came out in the, 91 or something like that? Early 90s?
Number 1 hit in Canada.
Yeah, it did well when it came out.
In the US.
So like I just didn't. I feel like that "well" sounded like Oh my god, I can't remember his name. Chris.
Stapleton?
Wow. No, I can't remember the fuck. It's an actor. I'll remember it someday. Anyways, but when I went to listen to the original. Yeah, this everybody was like, I remember when the song came out. It was great, and I was like, oh, this actually like did well. Number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100. Whoa.
In 92, yeah.
Yeah, so his version did well, and then Rascal Flatts did well through a Pixar movie helps it a lot, when you get that backing and promotion.
2006 is when that came out. It's interesting that you see a lot of these cover versions that end up getting famous are through soundtracks. That was Knocking on Heaven's Door. That was a lot. So I think what happens is these movies are coming out and they go tap a band, any artist that's killing it at the moment, and they're like, could you do something, and then could you do a cover? Maybe they even specify a cover or anything, but it seems to end up working that way a lot. These two versions I think are actually pretty similar.
They are. They're almost carbon copies.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot. They didn't change a lot. They just kind of performed it in the way that they play, which is great. I love the Rascal Flatts, and I think it's going to be hard for pretty much anyone to compete with Gary LeVox's voice. So I'm going to edge them out at the top here for me. My family, my mom was way into Rascal Flatts from their first album in like 99. And so Rascal Flatts were in my house from the time they were like playing small bars. And we went and saw them at the South Carolina State Fair when I was like 7. And obviously they're a massive group now, but they were playing the State Fair. And we went and saw them when like their first album was out and stuff. So I've been on the Rascal Flatts train pretty much their entire career and have always liked them. So no surprise there. I'm going with Rascal Flatts. Although I do like the Tom Cochrane version again, and gets a lot of credit for writing the song. It's a fantastic song.
I'm gonna go with the Tom version. I'm gonna disagree with you here. After listening to the original, I think I like the performance of the verses. I think a little more. It's like he's got like a little more. The vibe is different. But yeah, I think I'll go with the Tom version. After listening, I listened to it a couple times yesterday for the first time, his version, and I was like, okay, this is actually like it grew on me. I kind of like it. So I'll disagree with you on this one. I'm gonna go with the original.
Apparently, the song used to be called "Love Is a Highway."
Love is a highway. Oh, that's a
they ended up changing.
Yeah. Oh, Christopher Walken is who I was trying to remember. It just hit me. I was like, wow. It's like, I've been hearing like literally lately, Christopher Walken's been in my head because like one of the podcasts I listened to, dude was doing like a impression of him. And then I was sitting in my car trying to do impressions of him. And for a quick second, I'll get it like spot on. And then I immediately lose it because it's really hard to do an impression of somebody with an accent. So you have to like master the accent, then master their voice in a way. So he has that like subtle New Yorker added in. It makes it difficult. That's a hard impression in my opinion.
Yeah, that's got to be tough.
But anyways, yeah. So here's one we're on the opposite sides of the fence on. Let's go.
Nice. Let's move on to number 9. This one I had no idea was a cover at all.
Yeah, this one's interesting. I added this one.
Yeah, this was your pick, so you go ahead and announce it. How about that?
Yep. So I added this one, and we'll figure out why as we dive in. But it's Valerie, made famous by Amy Winehouse, but the original was written by the Zootons. And here's the thing, and the reason I added it is because I'll kind of like you didn't know it was a cover, and it's because the original came out 1 year before the cover came out. So the Zootons came out in 2006, I believe. Yep, on their second album. And Amy Winehouse would go to their shows and was just a big fan of that band because they're an English indie band. So they played a lot of like local shows like she did when she was on, her come up and stuff. So she was a big fan of that band and just almost immediately started performing their song because she loved it so much. And so her and Mark Ronson got together and just actually recorded it the next year. And so that's blew my mind.
The phrasing here is interesting. The song was actually covered by Mark Ronson with lead vocals provided by Amy Winehouse.
Yeah, it's just like Calvin Johnson, or not Calvin Johnson, Calvin Harris. It's Calvin Harris, but the other artist that sings it really is like what it feels like.
Right.
Like Uptown Funk, you're always going to be like Bruno Mars, but it's Mark Ronson.
Also Mark Ronson.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're always going to be like,
Exactly.
oh, it's a Bruno song, but no, if you want to look it up properly, it's Mark Ronson featuring Bruno Mars. Same kind of thing here. Mark Ronson featuring Amy Winehouse. But so that's where I just put that in because it's so interesting. How rare is it that like a cover becomes famous like 1 year after the original was released? Like typically there's some time. You let it breathe.
So far
there's
we've
some
seen
space.
20, 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. You let it breathe, it dies, you revive it. This one was just like, oh, I like that song, and then this is I like Amy Winehouse and Mark Ronson, so I definitely like her version a lot. But the Zootons version is not bad at all. Like it's got a very like it's pretty indie sounding, but it's not bad. It's good,
I will
and
say
the
the
music video
artwork
is cool.
is super good.
Oh, for the yeah, dude, I love that
Zootons.
for the
Looks
Zootons.
really good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Amy Winehouse. That's just the version I'm the most familiar with. That brings me the most nostalgia. We play that song at weddings sometimes. I play it live by myself at acoustic
I
shows
didn't know
sometimes.
that. I love that song. I didn't know you guys play it.
Yeah, we do the upbeat Mark Ronson version. The boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, that's
boom,
yeah.
boom, 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 boom. That's the Bo Diddley drum beat too.
Yep, it for sure is, and that's what gives it that like I don't know that vibe about that song is like I love that song so much.
It's just a dancey one. Yeah,
It really is.
it gets kind of repetitive, but it's like towards the end, you're like, all right, wrap it up. Like
Yeah.
you're not adding anything at this point. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a great song. Great song. I did not know it was a cover at all. I thought it was just an Amy Winehouse song. I didn't even know it was a Mark Ronson thing. I knew he had that version of it. I didn't know that was the main one. So, okay, we're moving into the final showdown here, number 10. And this is Wagon Wheel, originally by Old Crow Medicine Show. And there's a few different covers of it. It's a very, very covered song, but we chose to represent the biggest of those, which I think is the Darius Rucker in 2013. So the original song has a little bit of backstory to it, so let's talk about it. It was actually co-written by Bob Dylan and Ketch Secor, I think that's how you say it, of Old Crow Medicine Show. So Bob Dylan was one of the writers as well. He actually recorded the chorus in 1973, and Secor added verses 25 years later. So I think it was co-written, but they didn't sit down in the same room and write it together. I think
it was just an unfinished piece by Bob Dylan.
I think it was, and we've seen that a lot more than I thought we would see that. We saw that with Respect. We saw that with what was the other one? Oh, Cyndi Lauper, and we're seeing it here again. Yeah. So their final version, OCMS, their final version was certified platinum, April 2013. When did it originally come out though? Oh, 2004.
2004. Okay.
And Darius Ruckers came out in 2013. So there's a little bit of time there.
All right, yeah. He let it breathe. You know what I'm saying? Here's one that I think this will be one that we're on opposite sides because I love the Old Crow Medicine Show version so much.
Yeah, it's good. I like the Darius Rucker version. That's the one. I think I'd heard that one first before I heard the original. So that kind of has the nostalgia for me. It's interesting. You can hear the cover of a song before you hear the original. So that's the one you end up being like, it's the original to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I heard the original before I heard the Darius version. So I just have that same association, but liking the original a little more. And it kind of has more of a folk sound to it with his vocals that I really like. It's got like way more of a folk sound than the Darius version. But yeah, I'm definitely full on the Old Crow Medicine Show side of things.
Nice.
But I didn't know that Bob Dylan was part of it. That's new information to me. So I like that.
Interesting. Secor saw the Dylan contribution as, quote, an outtake of something he had mumbled out on one of those tapes. I sang it all around the country from about 17 to 26 before I ever even thought, I better look into this, like the legal versions. So when he sought copyright, he discovered Dylan credited the phrase "Rock Me Mama" to a blues man, Arthur Big Boy Crudup, who recorded a song with this title in 1944. He likely got it from Big Bill Brunzi. Blues names are the best ever.
Yeah.
Recording from 1940 using the phrase "Rock Me Baby." A phrase like a wagon wheel is used in 1939 Curtis Jones songs "Roll Me Mama," that includes the lines, "Now roll me over just like I'm a wagon wheel." This goes. I mean, this is just like everybody
Wow.
owns this song. I
This
think I
is
might own part of this song.
this is a compilation of every blues artist ever. They all just it sounds like Bob Dylan just wrote down his favorite lines from his favorite blues artists and then just left it at that. Like he got a chorus together of some random crap and then Sikor came along and was like, "Oh, I've got more to add to this." I love how it's just a collection piece passed down. Like, is almost what it feels like. You just keep. It's a Frankenstein song. Like,
Yeah,
truly.
So Sikor says, "quote In a way, it's taken something like 85 years to get completed." Sikor and Dylan signed a co-writing agreement and share copyright on the song, agreeing to a 50-50 split. This is fun. When Sikor discovered the famous singer-songwriter was willing to publish the song with Old Crow, he, like earlier claimed originators, disavowed authorship. So Dylan said, "I didn't write that, Arthur Crudup did." And then Arthur Crudup said, "I didn't write that, Bill Brunzi wrote that." Bill's first recording of The Derivative is around 1928. That's a true folk song, one that has gathered a lot of dust on the fender before it ever rolled into your town. And songs like that tend to last longer because they've been influenced by such lasting voices. So Sikor recalls that he met Bob Dylan's son's Jacob, and said it made sense that I was a teenager when I did that because no one in their 30s would have the guts to try to write a Bob Dylan song.
Yeah, that's funny. That's cool. I didn't know there was so much history of this song. It's awesome to find out about. I like that. How well did okay, so Darius's version hit 15 on the Billboard 100. Pretty good. Pretty good. And then 11 million sales in the US for that song.
Did all right, huh?
It not too bad, not too bad. 3 million for the Old Crow Medicine show though, so it wasn't a. Now I have a question. Darius Rucker's version, does that money go to Bob Dylan and Old Crow Medicine show, or
so the way music copyright works is there's two sides of it. There's the writing, which is what's called the publishing. That's the music and the song and the lyrics and melody, rather, would be the best way to define it. That's one half of it. The other half is the master recording. That's what you actually recorded. You own the master recording of the cover because you created it. It didn't exist before you. You don't own the writing, the lyrics and melody. So you basically they end up getting all of the publishing, and you end up getting all of the master, which is mechanical and physical royalty, things like that. So that's the rough breakdown as far as I understand it, not being official music attorney. But
so then a percentage of the Darius Rucker ones would go technically to then be split.
All of the publishing would go to whoever wrote it.
So the publishing would then be split between Bob Dylan and Old Crow Medicine
right.
Show.
Yeah, all the publishing goes to the writers, whoever that is. That could be 15 writers that have 8% each. Like, it could be anything.
Gotcha. Okay, so that money then splits off to those two.
Yeah. And that's what companies like ASCAP and BMI and stuff handle.
Ah, okay. Man, it can pay to have somebody cover your song. I would just
that's why we were talking about Guns N' Roses doing the spaghetti incident. Crazy.
Yeah, I'd just be under the policy, like, if you're gonna cover it, you better fucking do it good. Like, do it well. Get me paid.
Get me paid.
Get me paid. If you're gonna cover my shit, I want to be like, I don't care so much about all that, but just like, I care more about you doing it well and it being like, I want you to be successful if you're gonna do my song. I don't want people to listen to it and be like, you know what I mean? You better do it right. That's funny. But that's been our 10 that we're going to do for this episode. We'll definitely revisit. We've got plenty more. And if anybody has any that they'd like to spit out, or even if you just want to tell us your opinion on these songs, like, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear back. And we've got many, many more. What we put like a list of damn near 50
like
cover songs. Yeah. We'll and there's more that we meant to put and we just haven't put. So we'll be able to revisit this topic quite a few times over the next year. So I'm excited to do this. I enjoyed doing this one. You learn a little bit and get to remember some of these.
Yeah, and hopefully, the listeners also kind of learned with us, and maybe some of these blew their mind like they blew our minds when we first discovered.
It's always a weird feeling finding out a song you like is a cover, right? Like it's just always like,
I was
huh.
just thinking about that. Like, is that a feeling where you're like, oh man, or is it like how, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, they didn't
Yeah,
even
yeah.
write it. Like,
Yeah, I guess there is a little teeny bit of disappointment there, right? Just a little, even if you don't necessarily like want to feel that way, there is like a little hidden disappointment like, oh, okay. All right.
yeah,
They're not
I
all I
definitely feel
thought they
that. I
were.
think writing it is a important part. Yeah, creating it. Anybody, I guess the thing is like, oh, I could have covered it. Like,
Yeah,
like, you know what I
right,
mean?
right?
Like,
Yeah, yeah.
anyone could cover it if that's all it takes. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, a lot of these people added their own things to it. That's the one common through line we see through all of these. Whether it was adding their own spin, like Knocking on Heaven's Door, or straight up changing lyrics, like Cyndi Lauper, or adding sections of lyrics, like Aretha Franklin, or speeding it up and rocking it up, like Black Crowes. Like all of these things kind of, that's the one thing we see with these successful covers, is they kind of added their own kind of thing to it,
Yeah.
which
That's
is
true.
cool. My own band we're working on a cover of Thunderstruck, so that's a tough one to walk the line on. So we ended up staying pretty faithful to the original with our own version's a little heavier, I think, because we're tuned down a little lower, and there's some stuff like that, but we stay pretty faithful to it.
Yeah, I think that one's one that like I think covering the original and sounding like the original is impressive to people that like are
That's the
fans of the
task.
song.
That's the
Yeah,
difficult
that's
task,
what I'm
yeah.
saying is like, and I think that you guys are kind of going for like, it almost shows your like range as a band, and even you as a singer, people are gonna be like, whoa, you know what I mean? When they hear
I hear two things every time I show people that. The first one is, that's you? And the second one is, your throat must hurt after that.
not if you do it right.
The first
Or
one's true, the
maybe, I
second one's not.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're doing it wrong if your throat hurts.
Yeah.
Which is me. I'm doing it wrong because I don't know how to do it. So I finish doing stuff like that, and I'm like,
Just go to a fit of coughing.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, yeah, I don't know how to add grit or that filter. I don't know, but well, that's
The
all I
lifelong
got.
pursuit.
Yeah,
That's all we got
I
this week.
for this. Yeah.
I did want to remind you guys one more time, if you enjoy what we're doing here at Melomaniax, if you want more of this music history, more cover breakdowns, bonus episodes, we call it a backstage pass. You can get it on Patreon. Just head over there, patreon.com/Melomaniax. It's just one tier, $5 a month. You're getting a lot of cool stuff, and that helps us keep this show going. So consider joining the crew today if you like what we're doing. And until next time, we'll see you guys next week.